Now we're going to talk about
We're going to begin with
President Trump addressing Congress as new tariffs take effect on Mexico, Canada, and China.
this. We've got two major developing stories for you today, not just one, but two. First, the Trump administration's new tariffs on three major trading partners, Mexico, Canada, and China, went into effect at midnight last night, and some of those countries have already retaliated. And second, the White House paused all U.S. military aid to Ukraine after that very explosive showdown between President Trump and President Zelensky. Now, that's the backdrop for the president's speech tonight in Congress, and Tony is there in Washington getting ready to bring us all the latest. Tony, good morning to you. Everybody's saying how dapper you look today. Good morning, Mr. DeCopo.
Well, Gail, thank you very much. You're back from the Oscars, Hollywood's biggest night.
Oh, there it is. Double circ, Tony. Double circed up Tony, baby. Tony Two-Tone, my guy. I will never stop thinking about his penis anytime he comes on screen, okay? Forever tarnished. I'm sorry. It's just... Will I get banned for saying that you champion terrorist militants? No. You'll just be screaming into a void alongside a bunch of other dumbasses as well. But keep up the good work, brave soldier. You know?
Nate's been on a beach vacation, and here I am in Washington, D.C., and it's not even a State of the Union, so I'm questioning my life choices just a little bit. But look, it is going to be a big night, a potentially historic night in what has already been a fast-moving and consequential presidency. In less than 100 days, you got to keep that in mind. We've been told by the Speaker of the House to expect fireworks tonight, so while a typical joint address might be a somewhat boring, somewhat somber list of goals from a new president, you can expect President Trump to instead tout action, accomplishments. And there's been a lot of that, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe no president since FDR has attempted so much so quickly. There is, for example, the at times chaotic effort by Elon Musk and Doge to shrink the size of the federal government. Also on the list, working toward a ceasefire in Ukraine by, it would seem, whatever means necessary. Also, the hefty new tariffs on imported goods from Canada, Mexico, and China. And this morning, by the way, China has said it will retaliate, and Canada also already hitting back. And that is just one of many moves this White House has made to expand the power of the executive branch. So much has happened, really, that even folks here in Washington, D.C. struggle at times to process it all. But that's why we have Nancy Cordes, our chief White House correspondent, to stay on top of everything. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning, Tony. I have had my struggles, but today is a day that the president will be front and center. And you know that this is a president who cares a lot about the stock market. But yet...
Yeah, no, he cares so much. That's why he's destroying it. That's my king. That's J.D. Pondon, baby. That's my goat right there. He said, the Treatlerites must suffer. Permanent first. He said... Hold on, let me put this on. J.D. Pondon said, permanent first world genocide. The Treatlerites in the suburbs will scream bloody murder. I will take away their treats. Have fun. Enjoy the treats while you can. You will never enjoy them again. The Chinese century of prosperity is upon us. I will make our allies scream, and in the process, I will cripple the America economy. It's Trumponomics.
Yesterday, after he announced that there was no way...
Last night, I realized I was a Treatlerite when I took out a Trader Joe's lasagna, and it said product of Canada, and I realized it would go up 25% time next time I buy it. That's right. Trader Joe's lasagna from Canada, which is a settler colonial entity in and of itself under the banner of the Commonwealth, still holding up loyalty to the British Empire. Canada will also suffer.
Out for Canada and Mexico, the Dow fell 650 points. Still, 25% tariffs on their goods went into effect overnight with President Trump.
He said, the labor aristocracy. I love doing JD Pondon. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop. I'm going to dial it back a little bit.
Trump calling it a punishment, though it's unclear in the case of Canada in particular what that punishment exactly is for.
No room left for Mexico or for Canada.
President Trump is calling today's tariffs a powerful weapon, a weapon that will now be wielded on food, lumber, electronics, cars, anything that comes into the U.S.
so I can
from
say
Canada and Mexico.
It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form. And now we're using them.
The move could wound American consumers, too, as producers pass along that new 25% tax, driving up the cost of a small car.
I still genuinely do not understand what, like, Trump's internal purpose for this is. Like, I don't know. I've said this already. I've tried to make sense of this. I've talked about how maybe it's because he wants to, like, bully key sectors into submission. But having said that, this is across the board tariffs. So it's not even divided evenly by sector. There is no. It just does not make sense. It truly feels like he is trying to. It truly feels like he is just trying to break everything. This, like USAID, I understand a little bit more, right? He's not doing it because he's not undermining and crippling USAID because he is trying to eradicate American soft power at the global stage. He's doing it because he personally thinks USAID is just libtard shit, right? He thinks USAID and all the NGOs and civil society organizations that it funds is a money sink for numerous Democratic Party goals and organizations. There's some truth to that. However, it plays a broader role in doing the bidding of American empire at the end of the day. Trump might not have the foresight to recognize that, right? He might not have the foresight to recognize that. He might be more interested in changing the approach that America has had in terms of focusing on soft power initiatives and hyper-focusing exclusively and entirely on permanent war. Not to be a hater, but why do you think Trump unilaterally decides any of this? I mean, I think when I say Trump, I'm not just talking about Trump. I'm talking about like his advisors as well. I'm not simply referencing Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump operates on his own, obviously. I guess the other point for the tariffs is that it's a regressive tax, and he will use the additional money that they get from tariffs as a way to say, we filled up the government coffers. Now it's time to cut the only progressive tax that exists, which is income tax. And even then, there's a million different loopholes. I mean, we've talked about all of this stuff already, but it still does not make a whole lot of sense.
By an estimated $6,200 or an SUV by $9,000. So many car components are built across the border.
Because of the arbitrary nature of the emergency use of tariffs that are being done, we don't know how long they're going to be in effect. At the end of the day, there is little doubt that consumers will feel the pain of this, but it will also impact consumer demand as well.
Economic uncertainty already pushed consumer confidence down in February.
This will help Tesla, right? No, it won't. No, it will help zero car manufacturers, because even the cars that are manufactured in the United States of America, because of previous trade agreements, whether it be NAFTA or, ironically enough, the trade agreement that Donald Trump did, NAFTA 2, right, has created this network of back and forth between Canada and Mexico, where they pass the border, past the American border into Mexico, and pass the border into Canada and vice versa a million times until the car is assembled in the United States of America. That actually ends up, yes, USMCA is what I'm talking about. That actually ends up greatly increasing the cost of the car if they have to pay for all of the different parts that are being manufactured in Mexico or Canada before it makes its way into the United States of America, when every single car manufacturer is paying an entry fee numerous times over. Like, yes, United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, which was signed on July 1st, 2020. Okay, drafted in the 30th of September 2018, is an agreement that Donald Trump put forth, okay, which was a substitution for NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, which Donald Trump was very much against. But then he basically did the exact same thing. For the people who still don't understand how tariffs work, it is an entry fee that Americans pay for, okay? American importers pay for, just so you understand. It's not paid by the Mexican government, and it's not paid by the Canadian government. The negative consequences for trade for the Canadian or the Mexican side will obviously be that people will look for domestic manufacturers instead, or they will go to other foreign nations that provide the same exact resources, same exact materials, or same exact parts at a cheaper price, because now they don't have an additional 25% that they have to pay at the point of bringing it into the United States of America. So it will lower trade, and it will restrict. I mean, it has the capacity to restrict trade. That is why it's often used. I am not anti-tariff across the board. I've said this many times over. I'm not, I'm not against trade protectionist. I'm not against trade protectionism across the board. I do think that there needs to be, obviously, a competitive manufacturing industry. And the irony here is that for many of the things that, if you're doing, across the board tariffs, there is no competitive domestic manufacturing on some of the raw materials, for example, that you need. Like, what are you going to do if it just doesn't exist here? But let's get back.
A new CBS News poll, just 24% of Americans say the economy is getting better.
This is bad because normally it's the 30% that are like the Trump loyalists that will always say, "No, it's getting better. It's so sick now. I love the economy." And even that number has like diminished. He's sub 30 in his super base, okay? That's not good.
49% said it's getting worse. But President Trump says that tariffs are needed to punish Mexico and Canada for allowing migrants and the deadly drug fentanyl into the U.S.
Less than 1% of all fentanyl that comes into the U.S. is apprehended at the Canadian border. So why use fentanyl as a reason?
They're only apprehending 1%. You're right about that. It's a little more than that. But they should be apprehending much more because a lot comes through Canada.
Again, all the data that we have indicates that that is simply not the case. But what does come in through Canada is about a third of the softwood lumber that this nation uses, which has led analysts to predict that home building prices will be going up. President Trump says that if companies don't like these new tariffs, they can simply move production to the United States. But, Tony, when it comes to things like...
What are you going to do? What do you mean? What do you mean? Okay, you don't like the tariffs? It's time to destroy our our forests? Is that what it is? Oh, you don't like the tariffs? Okay, well, sorry. Time to destroy American forests. Canada just has a lot of trees, man. They have a lot of allocation for this. What are you supposed to do? I mean, we got forests too. Don't misunderstand me. We got forests out here. It's just that, like, I guess he just wants to destroy the remainder of the American forests. You know?
Lumber or fruits and vegetables from Mexico, moving it here, not that easy.
No, it takes time, and there are benefits that the president is touting, but there could be sacrifices in the short term. Sacrifice is not a word he typically would want to use with the American people. We'll see if it comes up tonight.
More on President Trump's tariffs and what they could mean for consumers. Elizabeth Schulze joins us to break down the potential.
They announced it yesterday, going to clear 280 million acres of national forest trees. Jesus Christ, dude. I mean, I suspect that it'll be much easier to do these sorts of things when you can't do an impact study because you fired every researcher and you think impact studies are woke and gay. I wonder what the long-term consequences will look like when you're just gutting the remainder of the American forests now. Oh, great. I love having people control the wheel that have no interest in being even remotely reasonable. Just doing absolute death and destruction. Great stuff.
Impact. And Elizabeth, what kind of products?
You can't ramp up production that quickly. There's also that side of it too, but I'm not even going to get into that. Okay? There's also obviously the fact that you can't just like materialize out of nowhere all of these businesses that seemingly did not exist. You know, you just can't do that.
Are going to be affected by these tariffs on America's top trading partners?
Hey, good morning, Robin. Well, the short answer here is that a lot of products that we buy day to day could get more expensive. Groceries, gas, shoes, clothes, electronics. Mexico, Canada, and China, they accounted for almost half of all of the goods that were shipped into the U.S. last year. And the way that these tariffs work is that American businesses that are importing goods from those countries will now have to pay the U.S. government a higher fee for their products to cross the border. A key goal there is to incentivize companies to rely on domestic manufacturers to boost jobs here. But in the short term, those American businesses will have to decide if they absorb higher costs from the tariffs or if they pass them down to their customers, Robin.
Okay, so if companies do pass down the costs, how soon could consumers pay higher prices?
Okay, so if these tariffs stay in place, economists expect you could start to see price hikes by Memorial Day. For groceries, it could be within weeks or even days, Robin. So take fresh produce, for example. About 63% of U.S. vegetable imports come from Mexico. Think bell peppers, cucumbers, strawberries, tomatoes, limes, avocados, a lot of that fresh produce. And grocers, they can't really stockpile those foods in advance. So if they decide to pass down the entire 25% tariff, that means your $3 avocado could end up costing $3.75 pretty quickly. Liquor, like tequila and Canadian whiskey, could also get more expensive. And then the auto sector, really another big one at risk here. Automakers rely on thousands of different car parts that are traded between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. If they are paying more to get those parts, you could end up paying $3,000 more for a new car. And some of the dealers that we've talked to say that they might raise those prices within months, Robin.
And many are wondering about gas prices, Elizabeth. Could they go up too?
They could. So about 60% of the crude oil that the U.S. imports comes from Canada. Our refineries are actually uniquely built to process Canadian oil. The national average right now for a gallon of gas about $3. Gas Buddy expects that the tariffs mean prices could go up by 15 cents a gallon in the Midwest.
That's right. My goat, he's doing it. He's doing it. He's fixing the cost of living crisis by making it so that by making it so expensive that you just die. It's so sick. He's doing it, man. This goes back to the thing that I was talking about initially, the resentment and the jealousy that I have, the envy that I have for Trump getting to do whatever he wants and his fan base just eating it up like it's the most brilliant thing that's ever happened. It's the most brilliant thing that's ever taken place. He's doing it again. He could just be like, yep, that's right. You're going to suffer, but it's okay because you deserve to suffer. We are going to deindustrialize the United States of America. The labor aristocracy. The labor aristocracy will suffer the largest penalties for the American empire's cruelty. Endless bounty. Unequal exchange is over, folks. Okay, let's listen to Maria Bartiromo crashing out at a auto dealership guy freaking out about these tariffs.
Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram. Yeah. Impact.
I love that for months, I said, and many other people who understand what's going on said over and over again that this is going to tank the American economy, that this is going to make everything insanely expensive. Okay? We said this over and over again. And for some weird reason, no one on the conservative side ever took this seriously. Like, I don't get it.
Dramatic.
All of this will make the EU stronger. No, it won't. It absolutely will not. You're wrong.
A sold order for a customer, $80,000 truck. It's $100,000 now. So he's not going to buy the truck. It's going to sit on my lot at the higher interest rates we're paying right now for floor plan, and nobody's going to buy the truck because it just had a $20,000 price increase.
Right. Kelley Blue Book will put the number up. They say the average vehicle will go up by about $3,000. Does it sound right to you?
No, it will not. We don't have the broad stroke. We don't have the linear, the tight strokes. But
I just wanted to make my camera smaller so you can see the Dow futures on the ticker in the corner there. Like, while all of this is happening, the stock market is taking a nosedive, which is also weird. He said he was going to do it. Why didn't people? This is the other thing that I don't understand. Why is the stock market responding to this now? He's been saying he's going to do this for months at this point. I just do not understand. Stocks mostly rebound. I know, but like, I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm too stupid, I guess. I'm too stupid to understand the high IQ games that people are playing on the stock market.
But to me, it's a 25% tariff. So that affects our parts that come from over these countries and a whole bunch of our cars.
And you've been basing your business model on free trade, basically. This is what the American Automakers Policy Council says, Maria, in response to this. They say our American automakers invested billions in the U.S. to meet the requirements of the current free trade agreement. They shouldn't have their competitiveness undermined by tariffs that'll raise the cost of building vehicles in the U.S. and stymie investment in the American workforce while competitors from the outside of North America benefit. The German, no tariff on the German cars coming in now.
No, they're Japanese. They're going to be okay. But think about it. We built our business around that. The OEMs built their business around that, and now it changes on a dime. And we can't build a $4 billion plant overnight in the United States. So I think building in the United States is great. I think enhancing the participation from the other countries on the other things, but this is pretty radical.
I hear you. There you go, Maria, where the rubber meets the road here.
All right, great. Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff, thank you. Thank you so much. Jeff Flock at the Dodge Ram plant. Not plant. It's not a plant, Chris. They're selling cars. Thank you, dealership. But you know what? Let me ask you this, okay?
Yes.
How many Dodge Rams do you see driving around Europe? Okay.
I once again am asking Amerifat morons why they do not make cars that are appropriate for the European market and then sit there and demand that they drive these behemoth tanks on roads that cannot sustain them. Make better cars. It's so stupid. Make smaller, fuel-efficient cars with smaller engines. That's it. Abide by EU standards and regulations. The Chinese car manufacturers never turned around and were like, no, you're going to drive our version of these vehicles. We don't care. They looked at the market and they were like, okay, we'll make these incredibly competitive and very cheap electric vehicles, and we will flood your market, and they will be impossible to compete with on a price point because we're heavily subsidizing it. Okay? That's it. It's not like they were sitting around being like, no, we want to make tanks. Why won't the dumb Europeans purchase our tanks? The cars that we make here in the United States of America are ginormous. The F-150, until this past year, was the most popular vehicle year over year, okay? The F-150, the Ford F-150 pickup truck. The Ford F-150 pickup truck inside of the European Union needs a commercial driver's license to be able, for a European to operate an F-150, you need a commercial driver's license. Do you understand? You're immediately, automatically shut out from half of the European streets. You can't go into any European cities. It is ginormous. What are we doing here? It's so frustrating. Where they're like, why won't they buy our tanks? Why won't they do that? They made the calculation that the American cultural exports will eventually lead Europeans to want street tanks, and to some extent it's working. I see way too many Ram 1500s on the road here in Austria. Wait, really? I thought you meant Australia. I was about to say, well, they have a Ute culture over there, but Austria? That's crazy.
How many Dodge Rams do you see driving around India? I mean, not many, I bet. Why? Because they don't buy our cars. And that's what President Trump is trying.
Yeah, also, that's the other thing. Toyota literally sells different cars in the U.S. to match our needs and interests. You won't find a Tundra or Tacoma in the heart of Tokyo when they can't fit in the side roads. Exactly. Even the Tacoma has become ginormous. And then you have the Tundra, which is the American competitor. It's crazy. I hate it. I hate that the one good thing about the European Union is walkable cities and a walkable infrastructure and public transit. And that is partially because, they did that before the American brain rot set in. Okay, they did that. And now we're just like going to force their hands and be like, nah, dude, you have to have these tanks. You have to literally rebuild your cities, destroy the public transit so that you can have Ford F-150 pickup trucks driving around. You have to literally destroy what remains of like the parks and whatnot so you can create these ginormous parking lot structures.
Trying to change. Maybe Dodge should start building them here and selling them here.
Also, Ford, GM, etc. do the same thing. They have non-American models in the EU, for example. It's a common gripe with the EV community. These American automakers being cool EVs everywhere but the U.S. Think shooting brakes, saloons. Why are cars so thick now? Like, is it just American brain culture nonsense? No, it's partially because of CAFE standards. That if you make a vehicle so large that it just like becomes a commercial vehicle, basically, but you can still sell it as a regular vehicle. All right, where were we? All right, let's get back to this.
Much as 40 cents a gallon within a week in the Northeast, Robin.
All right, Elizabeth, our thanks to you.
We have some breaking news coming in.